All right, welcome everybody to POGA. We are going to begin in a seated posture. Feel free for that seat to be up high in a chair, on an ottoman. We will be seated meditation for about 3 minutes, and then we'll move into some seated stretches and then transition onto the mat for some more dynamic movement. So as we settle in here, finding your seat, perhaps even rocking side to side from one sit bone to the other, feeling that connection, and finding stillness, a length up through the spine, chest lifts, and the shoulders drop down from the ears, allowing the eyes to close, and honing the attention in on the breath. Beginning to allow everything outside of this practice to fall away, the past, the future. Starting to arrive in the present moment by using the breath. The breath as an anchor and an invitation to now. Becoming a little more expansive with every inhalation, feeling the belly expand 360 degrees, front, back, side, side, up and down. And then a full contraction as the air leaves the body, drawing the belly slightly in and up. And as we expand the physicality of the breath, the time it takes to inhale and exhale will increase as well. So we're lengthening the breath. And when the mind gets distracted, first notice, and then draw attention back to breath. You may have to do this again and again and again. And drawing in a deep breath, allowing the eyes to open, arriving back into the room. We're going to begin some stretches from the seated position, interlacing the fingers, bringing them up over the head, reaching up like you're going to press the palm to the ceiling, separating ribs away from the pelvis and elongating the sides of the body. And then fill this shape with breath. Become really expansive, trying to find more and more space for every inhale to expand into. As the body gradually will soften over the course of this practice. And then begin to slightly sway side to side. Yeah, like there's a little breeze in the room, kind of taking you around. Feeling that shift from one sit bone to the other. And next time you go through center, release the grip and slowly lower the arms down. Fingers will interlace behind you now or clasping onto an opposite wrist. Back bending to open the front of the body. If the fingers are interlaced, imagine that there are magnets between the two palms and that the palms are moving towards one another. Working to straighten the elbows. Head can fall back. Big stretch for the front body. And find the breath. Release the grip, slowly coming in front of the body now. Opposite stretch, so we're going to crisscross at the wrists, interlace the fingers, and round the spine. Chin drops to the chest, shoulder blades coming away from the spine. Slight tuck of the pelvis. Spinal flexion. Energetically reaching out with the fist, spreading the shoulder blades wide. Slowly rising back to neutral spine, release the grip. We'll take the right hand across the body to the outside of the thigh, and the fingertips can be either tented behind you or on the low back. Gentle twist. Moving slowly through center, changing sides. Shoulders relaxed away from the ears, long through the neck and the spine. A gentle release, coming back to center. Lovely, everybody. Let's come into our tabletop position and start a little bit of movement here. So hands directly underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips. We're going to start with some alternating bird dogs. On the inhale, opposite arms reach out, getting long, and exhale back to your table. Changing sides, inhale to extend, and exhale to come back to your table. Continue using the rhythm of your own breath. Straightening that leg all the way, engaging the glute and the quad at the full expression at the back of that movement. Right here, we're finding this firmness in the leg, in the core, in the glute. Nice, returning to the table. On your inhalation, the right arm reaches up high and the eyes will follow. Exhale to reach through underneath the left arm, spreading the shoulder blade wide. Good. Inhale to reach high. And exhale to reach through. Follow the rhythm of your breath. Warming up the mid and upper back, also known as the thoracic spine. Good. And returning to neutral. And changing sides as you're ready. Inhale to get high. And exhale to reach through. Last full breath. Good. Hands returning to neutral. We're going to get into a similar sort of abduction movement, but just for the legs. So we're going to open up the right hip into abduction. So the knee draws a line straight out to the side and then back in. You're going to stay on this side, slow and steady with a pause at the top. If you'd like a little more challenge, take your left arm and reach out. And we're moving in a very slow, controlled fashion. No swinging, no dropping the leg with gravity. Right, so we're really challenging the core and challenging the glute med, which is the outermost glute muscle, one of the main hip stabilizers of the body. Last one. Very nice. Hand comes down if it's up, knee gets back under the hip, and change sides. First, just starting with the leg. All of the weight pours into the left hand. Whether you're going to lift this right hand or not, heavy, heavy on the left hand. If you'd like that added challenge for the core, reach out with the right arm. Again, breathing and moving in a controlled fashion. No matter how challenging you might be finding this, we are staying cool and collected. Continuing to breathe throughout. One more time. Good. Knee comes down, hand comes down. Sit the hips back towards the heels in child's pose. You can widen out your knees a lot, allowing that forehead to touch the ground. If the forehead doesn't touch, you can make a little pillow for yourself or use a block or any other kind of prop so that the head can be connected. Using this time to breathe into the back of the body, maybe even feeling that tip top of the inhale between the shoulder blades, expanding all the way out to the very edges of the body. Good, and inhale lifts you back into tabletop. Wonderful, hands come back underneath the shoulders, knees back under the hips. We're going to do some cat and cowing next. On your inhale, lift the hips, drop the belly, chest rises. And the exhale, tuck the tail, chin to chest, rounding through the spine. Use the rhythm of your breath to guide you through this wave of motion through the spine. From flexion to extension. And instead of the head and neck being the first thing to move, think about the base of the spine, the pelvis, to be the initiator of that wave. And the head is actually the last part of the body that moves. Good. Final full inhale and full exhale. Good. And returning to neutral. Lovely. So we're going to add in a stretch for the tricep, shoulders, and lats that we haven't done before, I don't think, in this series, which is called puppy pose, or it's also called melting heart. So we're going to drop to the elbows. Elbows are directly underneath the shoulders, so we don't want the elbows out wide with the wrists in. If you look at your forearms, the forearms are parallel to one another, and your elbows are under your shoulders, probably more narrow than you think that they should be. And we're going to begin to walk the knees back, 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 and back until the forehead rests, and the elbows are almost straight. So from here, your hips are about over the knees. You can make adjustments and move around a little until you find the right position for you. And then from there, as your forehead is resting down, you can bring your palms together, bend your elbows, and the thumbs come to the back of the neck. Now that's just an option. You don't have to take that option. You can keep the arms long. And this can be a pretty intense position to be in. So if that's how you're feeling, if you're like, oh my goodness, just try to focus on the breath, knowing you can come out of the pose if it's too much. If you're in it, continue to breathe, unclench your jaw, and just trust that this is temporary. Good. If you've bent the elbows, straighten them. Start to walk the knees back in until the head can lift and you are back in your tabletop position. Woo, nice. We're gonna take the right arm and thread the needle now. So we're gonna reach the right arm under. The outside of the shoulder drops to the floor. The outside ear drops. And then the left arm can be up over the head. So we're in a different kind of stretch. This is for the outside of the shoulder, so the rear delt. And we're looking underneath the armpit here. And if the head does not rest comfortably, again, that's when you use a prop, pillow, block, something to support the head. Find the breath, notice where it is in the body. Send it down into the low belly. Nice. Bringing that left hand back in front of the face, and then push through that left palm to rest. And then we can change sides. Learning to breathe through our experiences, whether we find them pleasant or unpleasant, is a really helpful skill off of the mat as well. Good. Dragging that right hand back in front of the face and then pushing through that palm to return to tabletop. And I'm going to have you bring your right foot forward to replace the right hand and come into an upright posture. Yeah. On an inhalation, the left arm lifts high, and on the exhalation, lateral bend. Nice. So we can look up past the elbow at the ceiling. And what this does is it helps us from caving in on ourselves. So we want to really feel like we're almost like going to open our heart, the center of our chest, up towards the sky. Push a little into the front foot. Right, finding that stability from the ground up. Nice. Allowing the arm to sweep down by your side once again, returning to neutral. That same arm on the left side is going to come across and into a twist. Right arm, right hand is on the low back. Drop the right shoulder down. Look over the shoulder behind you. Find tension in the legs and tension in the core. And breathe. So we're going to turn this into a little flow. We're going to come back through center. Yes, so on an inhalation, inhale here as we are just in neutral. On the exhale, sweep the arm over, lateral bend. Inhale, neutral, and exhale to twist. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, sweep over. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, twist. Follow your breath for a few more rounds. Inhale will always lead you to neutral, and the exhale will always lead you into either a bend or a twist. And we'll finish up on a twist, and then we'll change legs. Nice. All right. Changing the leg that's in front. Cool. Doing our best to find that 90 degrees. So the ankle is right underneath the knee, helps us be more stable. Let's lift that arm up and over, coming into a lateral bend, looking up past the elbow. Hold and breathe. Pushing into the feet. Coming through center and then into a twist. Left hand comes to the low back, drop the shoulder down, look over the shoulder behind you. Wonderful. Back through center, we're going to turn this into a little flow. So we inhale to prepare, exhale into the bend. Inhale to neutral. Exhale, twist. Inhale, neutral. Exhale to bend. Good. Inhale to neutral. And 2 more times using your own breath. Lovely. One thing I had a conversation about this week with somebody that came to open gym that I feel like sometimes with the kayak pros that can get lost is the top arm over the water, right? So this ability, this lateral bend ability is really important because we don't want to be here, right? How do we get the paddle right over the water, including the top hand over the water? That's the lateral bend, right? So a very, very helpful skill to have is knowing and feeling confident in our ability to bend laterally. Yeah, not just the mobility and the flexibility needed, but also the strength in the obliques to do it. So that's part of what we are working on during those little sequences. From our table, we're going to lengthen out the palms about a palm length and then come into our first downward facing dog. Tuck the toes under, lift the back of the knees, lift the hips, and keep a bend in the knees here so that we can really prioritize the length and extension of the spine. Do not prioritize straightening the knees. That's not really the most important part of the downward facing dog experience. What we're really trying to look for is a straight line from wrist, elbow, shoulder, through the spine, and to the hip. Breathing while you're here. Down dog can be a very challenging posture. Continue to push back with the hands, right? So not directly into the hands like a plank. You're pushing, it's like you're pushing the top of the mat away from you. Yes, yes, yes. All right, we're going to inhale to walk the feet all the way to the hands, coming into a forward fold. Deep bend in the knees. Feet at least as wide as your hips, maybe wider. Clasp onto opposite elbows and totally relax the head and the neck. So the back of the neck is soft and long. Few cleansing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. Really letting go of tension, letting go of any stagnancy in the body or in the mind, energetically, physically. Nice. Release the elbows. Nice. And we're going to come up and do a half lift on the inhalation. On the inhale, halfway lift up, look out, flat in the back. Now hold here. I've talked about this before. You can also think of the half lift as the beginning of your deadlift, right? So if I were to put my hands down right here and there was a barbell, I would be in the perfect position for a deadlift, right? To pull that bar up into a standing position. So this is where we want to think about with our half lift in yoga as well. Good. On your next exhalation, fold forward completely, let the head go. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. One more time, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. This time, inhale, half lift, and then all the way through to stand up. Arms come up over the head. And the exhale brings us through to Tadasana, top of the mat, just standing tall. This is our mountain pose, feet at least as wide as the hips. Good. On an inhale, arms come up over the head. And then exhale to sit back into chair pose. Yes, nice. So long through the spine, thumbs reaching behind you. So we're getting a lot of hopefully opening sensation through here without hyperextending the low back, right? So as the thumb moves back, I don't want my butt to also move back, right? Or any more angle to come into my low back, right? Do not hyperextend that low back. That is a bummer. You will start to feel soreness in the low back, which does not feel good. And breathe, right? So while we're here facing this challenging posture, we breathe, right? If it doesn't feel challenging, get lower. Yeah. Or if you don't feel like challenging yourself today, that's okay too. Very nice. On the inhale, hands come to the heart. And on the exhale, twist to the right, hooking the outside elbow onto the outside of the thigh, and then take the right hand and press really hard into that bottom hand, right? So we're not hanging like this. I want you to really push, shoulders out of the ears, very nice. Now we're gonna do something challenging, all right? You gotta have a little courage, a little gumption here. You're gonna start to pour weight into the right foot, and then quick and with some veracity, you're gonna take that left leg, and you're gonna step back. Whee! Yes, and yes, that might happen too. You might be like, oh no, right? But don't worry, no one can see you, you're just at home. Yeah, so once you get back there, option, drop the back knee. You don't have to stay up. Yeah, nice. On the inhalation, think really long through the spine. So if you're here, think here, right neck, lengthen, squeeze the back leg, whether the knee is down or up. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Good work. Nice. And if this just doesn't work for you, you could try this, right? You can open the elbow, and that allows you to get a little higher. The outside of the thigh can be on the outside of the forearm. Yeah, so a nice option there. Cool. On your inhalation, arms come up over the head. You are in a high lunge position. Again, option always to be down on the knee. Ooh, very good, very good. Yeah, a little burning sensation perhaps in the thigh, to be expected. All right, we're gonna open the back hip so that your back, so my toes now are gonna be facing the white brick. Good, I'm gonna take my forearm, drop it down to my thigh, and then I'm gonna reach my arm over my head. My bicep is framing my ear. So this is extended side angle. Beautiful. So if you would like a challenge, you can take the forearm off of the thigh and bring it so that the fingertips are just kind of touching the floor. So now I'm using more of my core to keep me in this position. Squeeze your legs really hard. Very good. Taking both hands down to the mat and then coming to downward facing dog. Good. Glide into high plank. Good. And then lower down, knees first. Hug the elbows in so you're at the mat. On an inhalation, it's a baby cobra. Peel the chest up off the floor and exhale to down dog. An inhale will bring feet to hands, coming to the top of the mat. And the exhale brings you into a fold. Rise to stand on an inhale. Exhale to Tadasana. Hold and breathe. So we've got that whole sequence on the second side. Good. On the inhale, arms come up over the head. Exhale to sit into chair. Steady here. Think about opening here, right? Shoulder mobility. Notice what's happening in the lumbar spine so we're not hyperextending. Brace the core, squeeze the legs, dig down through the toes. The inhale brings hands to heart, and the exhale will bring you into a twist. Good. Shoulders out of ears. Press the left hand really hard into the right hand. Yeah. At a 1 out of 10 effort, give it like a 6 or 7. Really press. Good. Start to pour weight into the left foot. You can slowly start to lift the right foot, and then quickly and with a little bit of courage, we shoot that leg back. And you can always drop right to the knee. Good. Yes. And then really squeeze the heck out of that back leg. Keep pressing top palm into bottom palm. Length through the spine, and breathe. Good. Your next inhale sweeps the arms up over the head. We are in a high lunge position. Good. Shoulders out of the ears as we reach up. Another very important skill to have when we paddle, right? How do we reach out and up without elevating and depressing the shoulders over and over again? First of all, that's not a stable place, and that's not where we're most powerful. So in yoga, we can practice this. Reaching up, shoulders down, shoulder blades set down the spine. Good. Let's bring hands to hips as we transition. Open the back foot. So no, my back toes are facing you. I'm going to bend my elbow here, coming into extended side angle. Yeah, so I'm not here. I'm open, right? My chest is open to the screen. And again, if I'm here, I'm going to try to take my shoulder blade and move it down my spine. So it's here versus here, right? Again, such an important skill to work on to help keep our stroke powerful and safe for our body. If you want a little more challenge, instead of resting on the thigh, reach down towards the floor. Squeeze the heck out of the legs and breathe. Nice. Both hands come to the mat. Send it back to down dog. Glide forward on an inhale, high plank. Exhale, lower down to the mat. Back bend on the inhalation. And down dog on the exhalation. Good. Drop to the knees. Crisscross at the ankles. And push it back onto your bum. Nice. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do some boat poses next. I like the boat pose because it really emphasizes hinging at the hip, which is something that when we're in the boat is really important. Because what happens oftentimes when we're reaching forward in the boat, people reach forward with flexion in their spine, right? So they're reaching forward here and there's all this action happening in their back. So the boat pose really teaches us this hip hinge where it's from here, right? That we're coming forward and then we rotate, we laterally bend, right? Not here and then try to bend from this flexion, place of flexion, right? So love the boat. It is challenging. So heels down, flexing through the ankles, arms out. You're going to recline enough till you feel a challenge, right? In the core, and then shoulders remain down and back. So not reaching here, right? Lift the chest like there's a string right at the sternum that's connected to the sky. From here, you can shift the weight back onto the sacrum and lift the heels, shin bones parallel with the floor. And then again, if you feel like you've started to curve, open the chest, squeeze those shoulder blades in and down. Nice, yeah, if you're open for another challenge, see what it's like to straighten the legs. Yep, not easy. And then maybe even recline a little bit more, keeping the back as flat as possible. You might notice a shake. Definitely, I am a little shaky. Good, bend the knees, shift the booty back forward, heels can come down. And then grab the back of your thighs and start to lower down. This time you can curve the spine under from the low back, mid back, upper back. And when the head touches, clasping onto your knees, knee hug and a rock side to side. Big exhales here, letting go of tension. All right, let's put the right foot down and cross the left ankle over the right knee, hugging in for a figure four stretch outside of the left hip. In order to really get into that left hip, we're going to press the left knee away from the body using our minds. Okay, so don't actually touch your knee, but think about engaging the leg in such a way that that knee moves away from you. And then hug in a little more tightly, and you'll notice a deeper stretch, hopefully. And return to the breath. Again and again, that's where we go. If you notice that the breath is suddenly up in the chest and the collarbone, send it down to the belly. Place the right foot down. Clasp the hands now behind the left hamstring and straighten that knee. On an exhalation, you can hug the neck just a little closer to you. You also have the option to lengthen this leg out. If you do this and your leg is like not touching, then bring it back in with a bent knee. If you can lengthen the leg and the leg is on the ground, then that's okay. Yeah. And neither way is better or worse, right? Just different. Good. A gentle pressure as we hug the leg in, finding that hamstring stretch. You can play around with flexing the ankle to get more sensation in the back of the leg if you'd like. And return to breath. Good. Bend at the left knee and then bring it across the body into a twist. Pick up your bottom hip and move it to the center of the mat. And then you can relax here. Left arm reaches out, palm face up, and the gaze is turned towards that left hand as well. And slowly through center, easy does it using a helping hand. Scoot the hips back to the middle. Then right ankle comes to the top of the left knee. We have our figure 4 second side, pressing the right knee away from you. And then hugging in the legs. Back of the head is down, little tuck to the chin to keep the back of the neck long. And then find the breath. Feeling the rise and fall of the low belly. Good. Left foot comes to the mat. Clasping behind the right hamstring and straightening that right leg. On an exhale, gently draw that leg just a little closer to you. Flexing at the ankle. And of course, playing around with either the straight leg or the bent knee on that other side. Notice where the breath went. Is it still soft and expansive? Or as you get into this hamstring, did it constrict a little bit? And if so, bringing back in that softness. Bringing a bend into that right knee, and the leg comes across the body. Pick up the hips and move that bottom hip back to the center of the mat. Extending the right arm, palm face up, and looking to the right. Supine twist. Good. Slowly moving through center. Scoot the hips back to the middle of the mat. And we're going to come into happy baby here. So bringing both knees in wide, reaching to the inside of the inner thighs, hooking your two forefingers on the big toes. Yeah, and you might already be like, what are you talking about? But I'll come back to you if that's where you're at. If you've got your big toes, then you're going to open up, bringing the ankles directly over the knees. So my knees are very wide away outside of my rib cage. And then once you've got a good grip here, then you can gently start to bend the elbows. Like I'm trying to bring the top of my thigh to the floor, which is not going to happen, right? That's okay. And then once you have a little bit of pressure, right, a little sensation, or maybe a lot, you can start to rock around. Now, if this is not, if gripping the toes, doing that doesn't work, that's okay. Just grip onto the knees here. You can do the same kind of rocking motion. What this does is it just broadens the sacrum, so it can be a nice relief for the low back and also a good stretch for the inner thighs. Awesome. Good. If you're in the happy baby, bend the knees, big toes come together, lose the grip, and then stretch the legs out long. So we're going to come into final rest, Shavasana, corpse pose. So you can arrange yourself in the spirit of that name of the posture, right? So legs are long, ankles just flopped open, arms by your side, giving your armpits room to breathe. So not closed, really getting a nice open space there. And just slowly start to release effort in the body and the mind, knowing that this is a process. It's not just a switch that can be flipped and suddenly we're relaxed and at ease. But over the next few minutes, just slowly letting go again and again where you can. Drawing in a deep awakening breath. Bringing small signs of life back into the body, wiggling fingers and toes, gently rocking the head side to side. You can reach the arms up over the head for a big stretch from fingertips to toe tips. And then hug the knees in towards the chest, rocking onto the right side of the body into the fetal position. The right arm can be over the head, acting as a little pillow. This little effort is possible, pressing back into a seated posture. You can sit up on something if you'd like. Once you arrive in that seated position of your choice, lengthen up through the spine, shoulders relax, and close the eyes. Again, turning the attention inward towards the breath. So we take a few final moments of stillness. Bringing hands together, dropping chin to chest, extending gratitude to yourself for coming to your practice today, and extending gratitude to all of the yogis who have walked this path before us, that passed down these teachings so that it may be possible for us to practice. Open the eyes and lift the gaze. I end class with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It means peace, peace, peace. Thank you so much for participating today, and we'll see you next time.